Commander Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm started screaming. The International Space Station Harmony had been his home for 6 months, and he had never heard every system alert going off at once. He pushed himself through the zero-gravity corridors toward the command center, where his crew was already gathered around the main display. "What do we have?" Jake asked, floating up beside Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, his communications officer. "Sir, you need to see this," Amy said, her voice shaking. "Something big just appeared at the edge of our solar system." The main screen showed a massive object, sleek and dark, easily 10 times larger than any ship humans had ever built. It was moving toward Earth at impossible speed, completely silent except for the gravitational waves it was creating just by existing. "How did it get there, without us seeing it coming?" Jake asked. Before anyone could answer, every communication device in the space station activated at once. Phones, computers, radios, even the emergency beacons all began broadcasting the same message in perfect English. "People of Earth," the voice said, cold and mechanical, "I am Ambassador Zektar of the Galactic Council. Your species has been observed. Your expansion into space ends now." Down on Earth, President Lisa Carter was in the middle of a budget meeting when every screen in the White House began showing the same alien face. Zektar looked almost human, except for the silver skin and completely black eyes that seemed to look right through the camera. "For the past 50 of your years, we have watched you spread beyond your world," Zektar continued. "You strip mine asteroids without permission. You establish colonies without asking. You act as if space belongs to you." The president's security team rushed into the room, but Carter held up her hand. She needed to hear this. "The Galactic Council represents 847 civilized worlds," the alien said. "We maintain order in this galaxy. We decide who may travel between the stars and who must remain on their birth world." In living rooms across the planet, families gathered around their televisions. In offices, work stopped completely. On the streets, people pulled out their phones to watch humanity receive its first message from another species. "You will cease all activities beyond your moon immediately," Zektar announced. "You will recall your colonies. You will stop mining operations. You will submit to galactic law like every other species before you." The alien's image flickered, replaced by scenes of vast space battles, planets burning, entire civilizations reduced to ash. "These are the worlds that refused our guidance," Zektar explained. "They chose resistance over wisdom. They chose pride over survival. Do not repeat their mistakes." The message ended with a countdown timer appearing on every screen. It showed exactly 1 year, counting down to the second. "You have 1 solar cycle to comply," Zektar's voice returned. "When this timer reaches 0, we will take corrective measures. Choose wisely, humans." The broadcast ended. For several seconds, the entire planet sat in stunned silence. Then President Carter picked up her red phone. "Get me General Martinez at Defense Command. Get me Dr. Walsh from the Science Division. Get me every world leader on Priority 1 communication. Do it now." Within the hour, the most important people on Earth were gathered in the White House Situation Room. Some attended in person, others through secure video links from around the world. General Paul Martinez, a tough man who had fought in 3 wars, looked pale as he delivered his report. "Madam President, our best estimates put that alien ship at over 20 kilometers long. The energy readings we are getting suggest weapons that could destroy entire continents." Dr. Amy Walsh, Earth's leading expert in theoretical physics, was already working on her tablet. "The technology they demonstrated just by arriving undetected is centuries beyond our current capabilities. They bent space itself to travel here, so we surrender," asked the president of Russia through the video link. "Never," President Carter said firmly. "General Martinez, what are our options?" "Limited," the general admitted, but not hopeless. "We have been building up our space defense capabilities for the past decade. We have orbital platforms, armed space stations, a small fleet of military spacecraft." "How small?" Carter asked. 40 ships, most of them converted civilian vessels." The room fell quiet. 40 human ships against technology that could cross the galaxy in weeks. "There is something else," Dr. Walsh said quietly. "In the past year, we have made significant advances in several fields. Quantum computing, artificial intelligence, miniaturized fusion reactors. The aliens might not know about our latest developments." The British Prime Minister spoke up from London. "Are you suggesting we fight them?" "I am suggesting we prepare to fight them," Dr. Walsh replied. "Because looking at that countdown timer, I do not think they plan to let us live regardless of whether we surrender or not. President Carter looked around the room at the faces of world leaders who had spent their careers dealing with human conflicts. Now they faced something entirely different. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in human history, our entire species faces the same threat, she said. I propose we respond as one species. Every resource, every scientist, every factory, every person working toward the same goal. Which is? Asked the Japanese Prime Minister. Survival, Carter said simply. And if they want to fight, we give them one they will never forget. Over the following days, something unprecedented happened on Earth. Ancient enemies became allies. Countries that had not spoken in years began sharing technology and resources. Every news channel showed the same images of factories being converted to military production, scientists working around the clock, and ordinary people volunteering for whatever jobs needed doing. The alien ship remained at the edge of the solar system, silent and waiting. Occasionally, smaller ships would detach from it and scout the inner planets before returning. They were watching, learning, preparing, but so were the humans. In underground facilities that had been secret military projects just days before, teams worked on new weapons designs. In orbit, construction crews began building new space stations at record speed. On the moon, mining operations expanded to provide raw materials for the coming war. The countdown timer continued its relentless march toward zero, but humanity was not the same species that had received the ultimatum. They were becoming something harder, more focused, more dangerous. Ambassador Zektar had made one critical error in his message. He had shown humans exactly what happened to species that fought the Galactic Council. He had meant it as a warning. Humans saw it as a challenge. 3 months after the warning arrived, Captain Roy Henderson stood on the bridge of the battlecruiser Terra's Fury and could hardly believe what he was seeing. Through the viewports, dozens of human warships moved through space in perfect formation. 6 months ago, these ships had existed only as blueprints in top-secret files. Status report, Roy ordered. All systems operational. Sir, replied his weapons officer, Lieutenant Sarah Kim. Railgun batteries charged and ready. Missile tubes loaded. Quantum communication array online. Roy nodded and opened a channel to Earth. President Carter's face appeared on the main screen, looking tired but determined. Captain Henderson, what is our fleet status? Madam President, I am proud to report that Earth now has 200 fully operational warships, Roy said. The shipyards are working 24 hours a day. We will have another 100 ships ready within 2 months. Carter smiled for the first time in weeks. Outstanding work, Captain. Any word from our research teams? Before Roy could answer, another face appeared on the screen. Dr. Ben Collins looked like he had not slept in days, but his eyes were bright with excitement. Madam President, we have made a breakthrough, Ben said from his underground laboratory in Colorado. We have been studying the alien ship's energy signatures and communication patterns. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but it follows predictable patterns. Explain, Carter ordered. Think of it like this, Ben continued. They have perfected technology that works the same way across their entire galaxy. Standard design, standard tactics, standard responses. It makes them very efficient. And very predictable, Roy added, understanding immediately. Exactly, Ben said. Meanwhile, human technology is chaotic, experimental, constantly changing. We do not follow any galactic standards because we never knew they existed. Our weapon systems are completely unknown to them. Dr. Ben pulled up holographic displays showing weapon designs that looked nothing like anything the aliens had ever encountered. Our railguns fire projectiles at 20% of light speed, he explained. Galactic standard energy shields are designed to stop laser weapons and particle beams, not solid projectiles moving at relativistic velocities. What about their ships? Carter asked. Heavy, slow, designed for intimidation, Ben replied. Our ships are smaller, faster, and built by a species that learned to fight in three-dimensional space around planets and asteroids. They learned to fight in the empty space between stars. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent beep from Roy's communication station. Sir, we are receiving a message from the alien ship, reported Lieutenant Kim. Put it through, Roy ordered. Ambassador Zektar's cold face filled the screen, but this time he looked confused and slightly angry. Humans, the alien said. We have detected massive increases in industrial activity and military construction. This was not the response we expected. President Carter stepped forward. Ambassador Zektar, this is President Carter of Earth. We received your message. Then why do you continue to build weapons? Why do you prepare for war instead of preparing for surrender? Carter looked directly into the camera. Because we do not surrender to bullies. Zektar's expression darkened. You do not understand the forces arrayed against you. The Galactic Council commands the military might of hundreds of worlds. We have destroyed civilizations that had thousands of years to prepare for our arrival. Maybe, Carter replied calmly. But they were not human. The alien leaned forward. What makes you think your species is different? Ask us again in 9 months, Carter said, and cut the transmission. Far across the solar system, other conversations were taking place. On Mars Colony, Captain Maria Santos received a coded message from Earth and smiled grimly. She turned to her construction chief, a tough woman named Linda Brown. Linda, how quickly can we convert the mining equipment to military use? Those big excavators? The ones with the industrial lasers that can cut through solid rock? Linda asked. Give me 2 weeks and I will turn this entire colony into a fortress. On the Jupiter mining stations, Admiral Tony Blake was having a similar conversation with his engineering team. The massive fusion reactors that powered the gas mining operations could be modified to power weapons that would make even the aliens take notice. Throughout the solar system, human settlements began implementing Protocol Defiance, a plan that had been developed years earlier by military strategists who wondered what would happen if Earth ever faced an external threat. Every civilian facility became a potential military asset. Every colony became a fortress. Every human became a potential soldier. Back on Earth, the transformation was even more dramatic. Factories that had built cars now built spacecraft. Research facilities that had worked on medical technology now developed new types of armor. Video game designers found themselves creating tactical software for real combat situations. In the underground facility in Colorado, Dr. Ben Collins made another discovery that would change everything. Amy, look at this, he called to his research partner, Dr. Amy Watson. What did you find? She asked, floating over to his workstation. The aliens communicate using quantum entanglement just like we do, Ben explained. But their system is designed to prevent interference from other quantum systems. So our system is designed to cause interference, Ben said with a grin. We can jam their communications completely. They will not be able to coordinate their fleet movements. Amy stared at the data. Ben, if this works, we can turn their biggest advantage into their biggest weakness. It gets better, Ben continued. Remember how they showed us those videos of planets they had destroyed? Of course. I analyzed the battle footage. Every single engagement followed the same pattern. The aliens arrive, demand surrender, wait for a response, then attack with overwhelming force when the defenders panic. And if the defenders do not panic? Amy asked. Ben's smile grew wider. They have no backup plan. They have never faced an enemy that responded to their threats by becoming more dangerous instead of more afraid. 3 months later, as Captain Roy Henderson looked out at the growing human fleet, he realized that Ambassador Zektar had made a critical error. The alien had assumed that humans would react to threats the same way every other species had reacted. He had not understood that humans were the species that had survived ice ages, global wars, and extinction events by becoming more resourceful under pressure. He had not realized that threatening humanity's freedom was the one thing guaranteed to unite every human on Earth. Most importantly, he had not considered that a species crazy enough to split atoms and fly to other planets might not be intimidated by the same tactics that worked on more sensible civilizations. The countdown timer showed 6 months remaining, but as Roy watched another batch of newly constructed warships take their positions in the growing fleet, he wondered if the aliens were beginning to realize they had made a terrible mistake. The countdown timer showed 3 days remaining, when 12 massive alien ships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. Each vessel was even larger than Ambassador Zektar's flagship, and their energy signatures lit up every sensor array from Mercury to Pluto. Captain Steve Parker sat in the cockpit of his experimental stealth ship, Ghost Protocol, watching the alien fleet through his advanced sensors. His ship was tiny compared to the alien monsters, built for speed and equipped with humanity's most advanced cloaking technology. Ghost Protocol to Fleet Command, Steve radioed. I count 12 bogies, each one bigger than a city. They are moving toward Earth in attack formation. Admiral Kate Sullivan's voice crackled back through the quantum communication array. Copy that, Ghost Protocol. All human vessels, this is not a drill. Battle stations. Throughout the solar system, human ships powered up their weapons and began moving toward predetermined positions. The aliens had expected to find a cowering planet. Instead, they found a coordinated military response that had been planned for months. Ambassador Zektar's voice boomed across all communication channels one final time. Humans, your time has expired. You have chosen resistance over wisdom. We will now demonstrate the consequences of defying the Galactic Council. The alien fleet split into 3 groups. The largest group continued toward Earth, while the other 2 headed for Mars Colony and the Jupiter mining stations. They are going to hit our civilian colonies first, Admiral Sullivan realized. They want to break our will to fight by showing us what happens to our people. The first alien ship to attack targeted the civilian space station New Geneva, which orbited Earth and housed 50,000 people, including families with children. The massive vessel powered up weapons that could crack planets, but Captain Steve Parker was already moving. Ghost Protocol to all ships, he broadcast on an open channel. These aliens think they can scare us by threatening innocent people. Let me show them how humans respond to bullies. Steve pushed his small ship to maximum speed, racing directly toward the alien vessel. His quantum torpedo was a prototype weapon that existed only in theory until 3 months ago. No one knew if it would work against alien shields. Steve, what are you doing? Admiral Sullivan radioed frantically. What humans do best, Steve replied calmly. Something crazy that might just work. The alien ship detected the approaching human vessel and turned its massive weapons toward the tiny fighter. But Steve's ship was too small and too fast for weapons designed to fight large fleet battles. At the last possible second, Steve armed his quantum torpedo and sent a final message. Tell them we do not negotiate with bullies. The quantum torpedo punched through the aliens' shields like they were made of paper. The exotic matter warhead detonated inside the alien ship's power core, creating a chain reaction that tore the massive vessel apart from the inside. The explosion lit up the solar system like a new sun. When the light faded, nothing remained of either ship except expanding debris. For several seconds, both fleets stared in shock. The aliens had just watched a ship that had terrorized star systems for centuries, destroyed by a single human pilot in a fighter craft. All ships. Attack pattern Delta, Admiral Sullivan ordered, her voice deadly calm. Make them pay for every kilometer. The human fleet had been positioned throughout the asteroid belt, using the rocky debris as cover. Now they struck from multiple directions at once, their railgun rounds and missiles converging on the alien ships from angles the invaders had never anticipated. The aliens tried to form their traditional battle formation, where massive ships could provide covering fire for each other, but human tactics had been developed during centuries of warfare, on a planet where enemies could attack from land, sea, and air simultaneously. Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner led a squadron of fighter craft through the debris field of the destroyed alien ship. His pilots used the wreckage as cover while they attacked the larger vessels with precision strikes against weapon mounts and sensor arrays. These aliens fight like they are dancing, Alex reported to Admiral Sullivan. Formal, predictable, lots of pretty formations. They have never fought anyone who plays dirty. Dr. Amy Walsh's breakthrough with alien shield frequencies proved decisive. Human ships began targeting specific frequency ranges, causing alien defensive systems to overload and fail. The tide of battle turned when human ships started using the moon's gravity well to slingshot around behind the alien fleet. It was a maneuver that required split-second timing and perfect coordination between ships moving at enormous speeds. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Their computer systems could not calculate the human flight paths because they broke every rule of civilized space warfare. They are using a planetary body as a weapons platform, one of the alien commanders reported in disbelief. They are treating three-dimensional space like a battlefield instead of an orderly transit zone. Captain Roy Henderson, commanding the Terra's Fury, led the main human battle line in a frontal assault that kept the aliens focused forward, while Admiral Sullivan's flanking force struck from behind. Fire everything, Roy ordered as his ship closed to point-blank range with an alien cruiser. Show them what human engineering can do. The Terra's Fury's railguns fired continuously, sending solid projectiles at 20% of light speed directly into the alien ship's hull. The alien vessel's shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, offered no protection against kinetic bombardment. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 7 alien ships had been destroyed or disabled, while the human fleet had lost 30 ships and 800 brave souls. But humanity had achieved something no other species in galactic history had ever accomplished. They had faced a Galactic Council enforcement fleet and won. As the surviving alien ships retreated toward the edge of the solar system, Admiral Sullivan opened a channel to the alien flagship. "Ambassador Zektar, this is Admiral Sullivan of the Earth Defense Force. Your demonstration has been noted and rejected. If you want Earth, you will have to take it ship by ship and pay for it with blood." Zektar's image appeared on the screen, and for the first time, the alien looked uncertain. "This is impossible," he said. "No species has ever defeated a council enforcement action." "No species has ever been human," Sullivan replied. "You wanted to see what makes us different? This is just the beginning." Throughout the galaxy, other civilizations watched the sensor recordings of the battle with growing amazement. The humans had not just survived their first encounter with Galactic Council forces. They had won decisively using tactics and weapons that no one had ever seen before. In the underground facility in Colorado, Dr. Ben Collins smiled as he analyzed the battle data. "Amy, look at this," he said to his research partner. "The aliens sent ships from 12 different civilizations in that fleet. Each one used different technology, but all of them used the same basic tactical doctrine." "Which means?" Amy asked. "Which means the Galactic Council has become lazy. They have been the dominant power for so long that they stopped innovating. They never learned to adapt because they never had to." Ben pulled up tactical displays showing the human fleet's unconventional movements during the battle. "But we have been fighting each other for our entire history," he continued. "Every human military doctrine assumes the enemy will do something unexpected. We plan for chaos because chaos is what we know." As reports came in from Mars and Jupiter that those alien attacks had also been repelled, Ben realized that humanity had just announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. They had not asked for permission to exist. They had not begged for mercy. They had fought back with everything they had and proven that Earth would never be an easy conquest. The galaxy was about to learn what it meant to threaten a species that had survived by being too stubborn to quit and too crazy to know when they were beaten. The news of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. In the council chambers on the capital world of Zentari Prime, emergency sessions ran around the clock as representatives from 847 civilizations tried to understand how a primitive species had defeated their most experienced military commanders. Council leader Vexan, a being whose species had ruled the galaxy for over 10,000 years, studied the battle reports with growing alarm. "How many ships did we lose?" he asked. 7 vessels destroyed, 3 more heavily damaged," replied Military Commander Thekvar. "But the real damage is to our reputation. Every species in the galaxy now knows that council enforcement fleets can be beaten." Vexan slammed his crystalline fist on the council table. "This cannot stand. If we allow one species to defy us, others will follow." "Send everything, sir?" Thekvar asked. "Every available fleet. Every warrior species under our command. I want a force so overwhelming that these humans will surrender immediately rather than face total extinction." But even as the largest military armada in galactic history began assembling, humanity was far from finished fighting. Colony Commander Rick Davis stood in the control center of Mars Colony. Watching alien ships approach through his perimeter sensors, the 40-vessel enemy fleet was massive, but Rick had spent the past 6 months preparing for exactly this moment. "Linda, are the mining platforms ready?" he asked his chief engineer. Linda Brown grinned fiercely. "Those industrial lasers that we use to cut through asteroids? They can cut through alien hulls just fine. We have turned the entire mining operation into the biggest weapon system in the solar system." The alien fleet moved into orbit around Mars, expecting to find a defenseless civilian colony. Instead, they found themselves facing converted mining equipment that could vaporize their ships at ranges they had never encountered before. "All mining platforms, open fire," Rick ordered. Massive industrial lasers, originally designed to slice apart asteroids for mineral extraction, reached out across space and began systematically destroying alien vessels. The beams were crude compared to military weapons, but they were incredibly powerful and the aliens had no defense against them. Within minutes, Half the alien fleet had been reduced to glowing debris. "This is impossible," the alien fleet commander transmitted. "These are civilian mining tools, not military weapons." "Welcome to human military doctrine," Rick replied. "We turn everything into weapons when we need to." On Europa, director Nina Foster had an even more creative solution to her alien problem. The moon's vast oceans had been used for underwater research stations and dolphin hybrid experiments for years. Now those same underwater facilities became hidden missile bases. "Launch sequence initiated," Nina reported to her team of human dolphin hybrids. The intelligent sea mammals had volunteered to pilot the underwater launch vehicles, using their natural sonar abilities to coordinate attacks the aliens could never detect. Missiles erupted from Europa's oceans at impossible angles, striking the alien blockade from beneath where their sensors had never been designed to look. The alien ships, accustomed to fighting in the empty vacuum of space, had no protocols for dealing with attacks that came from inside planetary atmospheres. Back on Earth, the war had transformed human civilization completely. Engineer Carlos Rodriguez worked 18-hour days in factories that had been converted from automobile production to quantum weapon manufacturing. "How many railgun projectiles did we produce today?" President Carter asked during her daily production briefing. 200,000, Madam President, Carlos replied, and Dr. Janet Lee's new medical facilities can keep wounded soldiers fighting 3 times longer than before. Dr. Janet Lee had revolutionized battlefield medicine using techniques developed from studying alien physiology. Her emergency treatment centers could repair injuries that would have been fatal just months before. "We are not just fighting a war," Dr. Lee reported. "We are evolving as a species under pressure. Our technology is advancing faster than ever before, because we have no choice but to innovate or die." The real breakthrough came when Captain Dan Mitchell, commanding the exploration vessel Far Horizon, made a discovery that changed the entire war. "Admiral Sullivan, you need to see this," Dan reported from the outer system where he had been tracking alien ship movements. "What did you find, Captain?" Admiral Sullivan asked. "The aliens do not adapt," Dan explained. "I have been monitoring their fleet communications for weeks. Every time we use a new tactic, they send the battle data back to their homeworlds for analysis. Then they wait for new orders." "How long do they wait?" "Minimum of 3 days for a response, sometimes up to 2 weeks. They cannot make tactical decisions without approval from higher command." Admiral Sullivan realized immediately what this meant. They have become so centralized that individual commanders cannot think for themselves. "Exactly. Meanwhile, our ship captains make tactical decisions in seconds. We have been modifying our weapons and tactics between battles, sometimes during battles. They cannot keep up." This discovery led to humanity's most decisive victory yet. When the massive Galactic Council Armada finally arrived, consisting of over 300 ships from dozens of different species, they found human forces ready with tactics that had never been used before. Fleet Admiral Grace Thompson, promoted to overall command of Earth's military forces, implemented a strategy that combined everything humans had learned about alien weaknesses. "All ships, execute Plan Chaos," she ordered. The human fleet split into dozens of small groups, each one using completely different tactics. Some ships used relativistic kill vehicles. Others deployed quantum torpedoes. Still others used converted industrial equipment as weapons. The aliens tried to respond to each threat individually, but by the time they had analyzed one human tactic and developed a counter, the humans had moved on to something completely different. "They fight like madmen," the alien fleet commander reported to the Galactic Council. "No coordination, no standard procedures, no predictable patterns. Every ship captain seems to be making up his own battle plan." What the aliens did not understand was that this apparent chaos was actually the most sophisticated military doctrine ever developed. Human commanders had trained to work together by being independent, to coordinate by being unpredictable, to succeed by breaking every rule of civilized warfare. The battle reached its climax when Admiral Thompson led a direct assault on the Galactic Council's mobile command center, a massive space station that served as headquarters for the alien invasion. Using a brilliant combination of stealth technology, gravity manipulation, and pure aggressive flying, Thompson's flagship punched through the alien defensive screen and disabled the command station with a series of precision strikes. "Attention Galactic Council Fleet," Thompson broadcast. "Your command structure is captured. Your leaders are now prisoners of war. Surrender immediately, or we will demonstrate what humans do to invaders who threaten our children. For the first time in galactic history, a Galactic Council fleet surrendered to a species they had been sent to conquer. As Admiral Thompson stood in the captured alien command center, surrounded by alien technology that represented thousands of years of galactic civilization, she realized that humanity had just become the new dominant power in their corner of the galaxy. They had not sought this position, they had not wanted this responsibility. But when faced with extinction, they had done what humans always did. They had refused to give up, innovated under pressure, and proven that sometimes the species crazy enough to fight impossible odds is the one that deserves to win. The galaxy would never be the same again. 6 months after the surrender of the Galactic Council fleet, President Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the captured alien command station, now renamed Freedom Station. Through the massive viewing ports, she could see Earth in the distance. No longer a threatened world, but the center of a new kind of galactic civilization. Madam President, we are ready for the broadcast, announced Communication Director Mike Chen, a former news reporter who now handled humanity's first diplomatic contact with hundreds of alien species. Carter nodded and stepped in front of the recording equipment. In a few minutes, her words would be transmitted to every inhabited world in the galaxy. Citizens of the galaxy, she began, her voice steady and strong. I am President Carter of Earth, speaking from what was once the Galactic Council's command station. 6 months ago, your leaders sent us an ultimatum. They demanded we surrender our freedom and submit to their authority. She paused, looking directly into the camera. We said no, not because we wanted war, but because freedom is not something humans negotiate away. Today I speak to you not as conquerors, but as liberators. In the prisoner quarters of Freedom Station, Ambassador Zektar watched the broadcast with growing amazement. The human leader was not gloating over her victory. Instead, she was offering something the galaxy had never seen before. The Galactic Council ruled through fear and intimidation for thousands of years, Carter continued. They told you that peace could only exist if everyone followed the same rules, used the same technology, and accepted the same limitations. We offer you a different vision. Dr. Amy Walsh stood beside the president, holding a datapad filled with revolutionary discoveries that had emerged from studying captured alien technology. We have learned that many of your species possessed incredible innovations that were suppressed by council regulations, Carter explained. Technologies that could have improved billions of lives were banned because they did not fit standard protocols. Scientific discoveries were buried because they challenged established order. Throughout the galaxy, beings who had spent their lives following council directives began to listen with new interest. Humanity offers you partnership, not domination, Carter announced. Trade agreements based on mutual benefit, not tribute collection. Scientific collaboration that encourages innovation instead of stifling it, and most importantly, the right to determine your own destiny as a species. The president gestured to the viewing port, where construction crews were already building new types of spacecraft that combined human engineering with alien technology. We are not interested in ruling the galaxy. We are interested in exploring it, trading with it, and learning from it. But we will never again tolerate any force that tries to limit where humans can go or what humans can achieve. Admiral Grace Thompson, now commander of the Combined Human Space Force, appeared beside the president. To those who still support the old council system, know this, Thompson said firmly. Any attempt to restore the previous order of domination and submission will be met with the full force of human military doctrine. We have proven that superior technology means nothing against superior determination. The broadcast ended with images of Earth's colonies throughout the solar system, now expanded far beyond what they had been before the war. Mars had become a major industrial center. Europa hosted the galaxy's most advanced research facilities. The asteroid belt mining operations supplied raw materials to dozens of worlds. In his cell, Ambassador Zektar finally understood the magnitude of the Council's error. They had not simply lost a military campaign. They had awakened a species that would fundamentally change how galactic civilization worked. Guard, he called to the human security officer outside his cell. Yes, sir, replied Sergeant Bill Murphy, a former Marine who now handled prisoner relations. I request a meeting with President Carter, Zektar said. 20 minutes later, The alien ambassador sat across from the human president in a conference room aboard Freedom Station. "You have won," Zektar said simply. "But what happens now? Do you execute the council members? Do you destroy our homeworlds in revenge?" Carter looked surprised. "Why would we do that?" "Because that is what we would have done to you," Zektar admitted. "We are not you," Carter replied. "We offer you the same choice we are offering every species in the galaxy. Join us as equals or go your own way in peace, but never again try to tell others how they must live." Zektar studied the human leader carefully. "Your species is truly different, is it not?" "We are what we had to become to survive," Carter said. "A species that fights impossible odds, adapts to any challenge, and never gives up hope for a better tomorrow." The transformation of galactic society happened faster than anyone had expected. Within a year, dozens of species had signed partnership agreements with Earth. The old tribute system was replaced with fair trade contracts. Planets that had been strip-mined to support Council luxury began rebuilding their ecosystems with human environmental technology. Commander Jake Morrison, now Admiral of the Exploration Fleet, led humanity's first official diplomatic mission to the galactic capital world of Zentari Prime. The ancient world had been the center of Council power for millennia, but now its leaders were eager to negotiate with the species that had ended their dominance. Admiral Morrison greeted High Council leader Vexon, his crystalline features showing none of the arrogance they had displayed during the war. "We welcome you to our world." Jake looked around at the magnificent crystal cities that had been built with resources extracted from hundreds of conquered worlds. "Impressive," he said diplomatically. "But we are more interested in what you can build with your own resources. In partnership with others, the negotiations established the new Galactic Partnership, an organization that encouraged voluntary cooperation instead of forced submission. Member species shared technology and resources freely, developed new worlds together, and most importantly, retained the right to govern themselves." Dr. Ben Collins, working in the most advanced laboratory facility ever built, made discoveries that revolutionized galactic technology. By combining human innovation with alien knowledge, his team developed faster-than-light communication, improved medical technology, and clean energy systems that could power entire civilizations. The Council was right about one thing, Ben reported to President Carter during one of their weekly science briefings. Combining different approaches to technology does create incredible advances. They just never understood that you get better results through voluntary cooperation than through forced standardization. Captain Maria Santos, now governor of the Mars Industrial Complex, supervised the construction of spacecraft that were being sold to species throughout the galaxy. Human engineering had become famous for reliability, efficiency, and the ability to work under impossible conditions. "We are not just changing how the galaxy fights wars," Maria reported. "We are changing how they think about solving problems." Species that had not innovated in centuries are suddenly developing new technologies because they finally have the freedom to experiment. The real measure of humanity's success came 5 years after the end of the Galactic Council War. Captain Roy Henderson, commanding the deep space exploration vessel New Horizon, made contact with a previously unknown species in a distant star system. "Captain Henderson to Earth Command," he reported. "We have encountered the Zephyrian species in the Kepler 442 system. They have achieved spaceflight but have not yet made contact with galactic civilization." "What are their intentions, Captain?" asked Admiral Thompson from Earth Command. "They are curious but cautious," Roy replied. "They have heard stories about the old Galactic Council and are afraid of being conquered or forced to surrender their independence." "And what did you tell them?" Roy smiled as he looked out at the Zephyrian ships maintaining a respectful distance from his vessel. "I told them that humans do not conquer other species. We invite them to join us as partners if they choose, or wish them well if they prefer to remain independent. I told them that the galaxy is big, enough for everyone to find their own path to the stars." The Zephyrians accepted humanity's offer of partnership within a week as President Carter entered her second term in office. She often stood on the observation deck of Freedom Station and watched human ships departing for distant stars. Each vessel carried not just human explorers, but representatives from dozens of species working together toward common goals. Humanity had answered the Galactic Council's warning, not with surrender, but with a demonstration of what free beings could accomplish. when they refused to accept limitations imposed by others. The galaxy had sent Earth a message of domination and submission. Earth had responded with a message of freedom and partnership, and the galaxy would never be the same. In classrooms throughout human space, children learned about the year when Earth faced extinction and responded by showing the universe what it meant to be human. They learned that courage, innovation, and the refusal to surrender were not just survival traits, but the foundation of a better civilization. The stars belonged to everyone now, and humanity had made sure they always would.